welcome, Mike. It's been a little while since we've seen you. It was really nice to hang out with you at the Philly Hot Sauce Festival. How have you been since then?
Oh, I've been great. Yeah, just traveling around some more, breaking more records, winning and yeah, keeping it real.
And I forget, could you? I see you have the things behind you. You've got your belt and you've
Oh
got
yeah.
some awards. Would you mind running us through what your accolades are?
Oh yeah. So I'm now the three-time world champ of hot pepper eating. I won the belt in New Zealand, Czech Republic, and then just a few weeks ago in the UK. Going to defend it next weekend in Bulgaria again. Uh, and I've broken 17 Guinness World Records now. Mostly for eating peppers, but, some for a few other things.
So it's so fascinating to me. One, I love that you get the belts when you
Yeah.
um so to kind of like I kind of want to hear from like almost the beginning. So like what prompted you to say, "Hey, you know what I really want to like get into just like eating a bunch of hot stuff and mass quantities of it?"
Well, it happened over a long period of time, I guess, so, yeah, like, as I wasn't into it as a kid, like, my family wasn't into it, I remember my dad, like, making fun of some of his buddies at the hunt camp that would make hot chili and be like, "Hey, why do you wanna hurt yourself while you're eating? It doesn't make sense," right? So, as a kid, spicy stuff wasn't around. It was more when I got into college. I had some roommates that were into, just basic hot sauce, Tabasco, Frank's Red Hot, stuff like that. And it started almost like a dare, just like, "Hey, Mike, like, what's the matter? You don't want any hot sauce on your pizza? Are you afraid or something?" So, I started, using hot sauce every once in a while, and then more regularly on my food, and yeah, just basic stuff. I always tell people like back in the day, I used to go to the movie theater. You'd get the thing of nachos with the little cup of jalapenos. And I couldn't use the whole cup. I'd just use like half of it and be like, oh, that's too much for me. I can't use all these jalapenos. That's too spicy. So, but over time, I like spicy stuff, and I would just use more and more, and eventually it would look like almost like there's more hot sauce than food on my plate. So, I was like, I need to find hotter sauces so I don't have to use like so much to get the kick, right? So, it's easier to find them now, but at the time, you'd have to search, and I'd try to find hotter and hotter sauces, and over a span of like 15 years, I guess, then I'm using Carolina Reaper pepper hot sauce like people are using ketchup. And it was at that time, I guess it was 7 years ago now, uh, one of my buddies was like, "Oh, there's people on YouTube who are eating hot peppers, like, you should give it a try because 'cause you're really good with hot sauce and stuff," and I was like, "Yeah, maybe I'll try it out." So, I made a video where I ate, one dried Carolina Reaper pepper, and, it was hot, but I was like, "Hey, I think I could eat more." So, just made more and more videos, eating more and more peppers, started breaking records, and yeah, it just went from there.
So if you were to go back now and like eat one of those cups of, those little nacho cups of jalapenos, does that even tickle your like does that do anything for you anymore?
Not really, like, yeah, like pickled jalapenos, yeah, not really too hot, to be honest, sometimes the fresh ones, like, sometimes you get, it's kinda hit or miss, sometimes you get one that's got a little bit of spice to it, but, nothing too crazy or anything like that.
Do you find that that ruins like I love the taste of jalapenos. And yeah, fresh jalapenos obviously tend to hurt me a little bit more, but do you enjoy the flavor of those things that were once spicy or are you just like, meh?
Yeah, I still like the flavor of it. Yeah, like jalapenos are one of my favorite like flavors for peppers. Really, I like jalapenos and serrano, some of the kind of milder green peppers, I guess. But yeah, I don't think it messes with the taste. Like there's some stuff that they don't really enjoy like that much anymore. Like some of the really like vinegar forward or really salty, kind of really basic cayenne hot sauces. If I use those, I don't get the spiciness, and then I don't enjoy the flavor so much anymore because I've been spoiled with all the craft hot sauces I've had over the years, stuff like that. So a lot of that has changed, but yeah, like jalapenos like all the time. Like I love jalapeno flavored chips and there's these
It,
like kind of I'm getting these here in Canada, one of the stores they got these they're like vegan jalapeno cheesies and I just love them. I just eat a bag of them.
in my mind, Mike, you have like a salad bar set up at home, and you know how they have like the bell pepper strips. You've just got habanero strips. Is in my mind what's going on with your salads too.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
S- So when you're doing when you're doing one of your challenges, what does the game plan, like say it's on a Saturday, what does your week kind of look like leading up to it? Is there prep work that goes into it, or is it just kind of like you've done it enough now where you can just do it again?
Oh yeah, it depends on the challenge and it depends on like travel schedule and stuff like that. But if it's like, if I'm gearing up for something, yeah, usually I'm doing like some exercises during the week. Like I do like jaw exercise, neck exercises, stuff like that. Um, Usually eating a bunch of hot peppers, like not a crazy amount, but depending on what the challenge is or if it's competition, like I'll kind of maybe speed eat like 5 like habaneros or something like that, maybe 3 times a week sort of thing. So I do stuff like that. I'll start I'll start eating a lot like the day before. I'll kind of like have like a big dinner, and then I'll also like load up on food at breakfast, and I get really like physically. I try to get myself really full before I eat the peppers. That's kind of one of my go-to things. Like people think it's crazy. I don't really even know how I do it, but I'll be like full and then I'll eat like 100 or more, Carolina Reapers or something like that. So I'm already full and then eating even more. So it's just I don't know. I guess I just have a stretchy stomach or something like that. But yeah, I load up a lot of potatoes usually the day before, like home fries or hash browns, whatever you call them in your region,
That
I guess,
that makes
for
sense
breakfast.
because I
Yeah.
because I feel like you'd want to not necessarily like soak up the spicy, but it gives it like a landing pad. Like when the spicy hits your gut, maybe there's
Yeah.
something to that.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of diluting the peppers in your stomach, right? I think it's kind of similar, like if you go out for party night of drinking and you haven't like eaten anything, it affects you more. You know what I mean? So I think it's the same thing with peppers. Like you just load up, and it doesn't affect my stomach as I'm gonna feel it eventually, but not as fast as I would if I was on an empty stomach. Just before I'm eating. My go-to is just to get me like to the max is like some peanut butter and banana sandwiches. I eat as many of them as I can. Like I'll bring like 8 of them to like a competition, and I'll eat like maybe sometimes it's two, sometimes it's four and a half. But yeah, that's kind of my physical prep, and then there's mental prep as well. If I'm going for something that's more of like a marathon, I listen to like a Buddhist breathing meditation before. It's called Smile Release. It's famous Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh. He does this kind of cool like meditation I listen to. So it really just it calms me down and it just like puts me in the moment and just reminds me of my goals and just makes me yeah, just kind of makes me happy before I go and hurt myself sort of thing. I've got like a Spotify playlist that I made that's kind of a lot of like inspirational songs and pump up songs, stuff like that. So yeah.
I was
Well,
thinking like Rocky, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
just some real winter stuff.
Like Eye of the Tiger
I
on there,
tell you,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
Well, when we were
Yeah, lots of stuff.
at the when we were at the Philly Hot Sauce Festival, and Eric and I were watching you do one of the challenges, um, you could just So watching you from the outside, like it looked one like extremely painful, but you could tell that you were just kind of like focused on the task and everything around you almost like was non-existent. Like it just seemed like you were so dialed in on just getting those peppers in and down. So it definitely whatever you're doing is clearly working, but it was
Thanks.
very fascinating to watch you just like because I don't know if I've ever actually seen someone so like just focused on the task, and I'm assuming just, like, you can't really have that many distractions as you're, crushing all of those peppers. Um, but do you find that after it's done, like, there are some times where the recovery is more brutal than others, or is it always just really rough after you're done the competition?
Yeah, sometimes, sometimes it's worse than other times. A lot of different factors. I find like I really find that if I'm doing a challenge it's more like there's like hot sauce chugging challenges or drinking challenges. I find that those are more brutal. Not to be like super gross, but one major factor is uh like when and how much I throw up after. So it's like if I'm doing something like super crazy, like a lot of the times I'm, pushing myself to the breaking point where I'm really trying to like keep it in, right? So then if I throw up like right away and get it all out, then I feel a lot better, like a lot sooner. But yeah, the like hot sauce stuff I find and some of the stuff with powder, like some of the chip challenges and stuff like that, I find it's just like it just gets in you and it just sticks in and it doesn't matter like
Mm.
how much you throw up, it's like still in there, and it's just a night of pain, really. So I've spent a lot of nights on the cold tiles in the bathroom floor. Sometimes it's easier to sleep there than it is to sleep in bed. So
So to also kind of piggyback off of that, something that I've been wondering, and I'm sure a quick Google search would kind of tell me my answer, but I'm going to ask you and see if you know. So, do you ever worry about like esophageal cancer or like stomach or like colon? Is that something that can be correlated with that, or is that just, is there a correlation between the two?
no, I'm not really worried about that stuff at all. Like when I first started doing the pepper stuff and once I started getting a little more extreme and stuff like that, like I thought about it and my wife was kind of worried and we did a lot of, uh, research or looking stuff up, whatever you want to say. And yeah, we found that it's really like relatively safe. Like it's kind of this big like there's a lot of misconceptions about peppers and spicy stuff and people say like, "Oh, it's going to burn a hole in your stomach or burn a hole in your throat or whatever." And it's none of it's really true. Like medically, none of that is true. And I'm like, if it was gonna happen to somebody, it probably would happen, like, to me by now, you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing this for 7 years. I've eaten 100 plus Carolina Reaper peppers, like, 4 times now, and I feel fine. And, my family doctor, I don't have one right now, but, 'cause I moved, but my family doctor before, like, knew all about it and everything, and he didn't have any worries. He had, like, a signed Guinness book in his office, for the kids
Nice.
and stuff like that. So yeah, it's like there's like it's always like there's obviously like some things that could happen, and it's like um, you know, like hundreds of thousands or millions or whatever people eat hot peppers or do these challenges and stuff like that, and then it's like the one thing that goes wrong is the thing that makes the news, right? So um, it's like I wouldn't recommend to somebody like just starting out, like if you've never eaten a Carolina Reaper before, don't try to eat 100 of them. You know what I mean? If you have a heart condition, like I probably wouldn't try eating too much spicy stuff because if you're eat something and you're throwing up like profusely, like you can hurt your throat from your stomach acid, not from the peppers. So just not to be super gross, but for safety's sake, it's always good to what I do is just like drink a lot of water between like kind of barf sessions. So, you're throwing stuff up, you're like diluting your stomach acid, stuff like that. Um, there's a thing like there was a guy who had there was that news article. One guy had like a thunderclap headaches, and I think that's more from dehydration. Like he can get really dehydrated. Eating spicy stuff, you're sweating, your eyes are watering. Mucus, spit. It's just like liquid coming out of everywhere, and a lot of headaches are come from dehydration. So just keep yourself hydrated, stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm like I've never had any real health scares, and yeah, I feel great.
I feel like too a lot of it is like, and I feel like with a lot of things in life, it's just like some individuals are just predisposed to certain things. So like if you have horrible acid reflux, like crushing peppers is probably, yeah, a terrible
Yeah.
idea. Or you hear stories all the time about like this person goes to the gym every day, eats super clean, hasn't smoked a cigarette a day in their life, and they go to the doctor with like a backache, and they have stage 4 lung cancer. Like
Mm.
it's like so, like, and that's why I was always, I think you're the first and only person I know to do like competitive eating and also competitive hot stuff eating. So I was curious to see if there was a correlation between the two. So it's nice to know that like, you've been good.
Did your research and you're not
Yeah.
that you're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna be
Um,
okay for now.
yeah, right. Um,
I wanted to ask about I've across my Instagram reels or TikTok watching people I would get people eating hot peppers, and then I saw some drama something where somebody was calling someone else out, and he said, well, look at the way he's eating his peppers right here. He's just doing it on TikTok or something. And he would go, here's a bundle of peppers here. And he would take them and he goes, here you go, everybody. And he eats it and he drops it in his mouth like this and he just bites it off right off the stem. And then somebody stitched it and said, you see how he put that in his mouth right there? And then he held up peppers and he said, look, I could do this too. But he turns it around and showed the back of the peppers just kind of like sliced open and de-seeded and was it deveined? Is that like a common thing? Because I've only seen it once. I'm not so super in tune. Are people like trying to do this for fame or something to see that they could eat the hottest stuff, but they're really faking it?
uh, I think a little bit. Yeah, it's like unfortunate, but I think that there are people like trying to do it for clout and stuff like that. Trying to remember the one guy's name. There was a guy like kind of years ago when I started, and he had a video eating 100 eating 100 Carolina Reaper peppers, and at the time, like everybody was like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" Like, I could only eat like about 20 of them at the time, and yeah, it turned out to be fake. Like he had a whole YouTube channel of just like fake stuff. Like he was, it kind of got more and more ridiculous, and then you're like, okay, like all his videos have got to be fake. Like he did a thing where he was like mailing himself to another country and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, like if like this obviously is like not real. So then people looked into his pepper videos and were like, oh, there's a lot of cuts here where he's like, like stuff with a lot of cuts. Like a lot of my challenges, I try to at least do them live on YouTube and then do like, a more entertaining, like sped up version. But a lot of stuff can be done in editing, obviously, like when stuff's like sped up and stuff like that. But I'm kind of like at the point now where if people don't believe my my videos, I'm like, okay, like just watch a few of them, and like I do all this stuff in public and things like that. But yeah, they're I don't want to mention like names or anything or whatever, but there are people like yeah, like there's a few like kind of in like kind of more the TikTok
mhm.
community that are, trying to get clout for eating spicy stuff. It's like, a lot of kids really and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
um, whatever. Like I'm always like, if you think you're, awesome, like go do something live or go do an actual like competition or something like that, and you'll see who's on top, I guess.
Right. You haven't been called upon to challenge anybody, have you? Has that ever happened?
Yeah, like I don't know, like I get kind of like I don't know, like kind of like little challenges and things like that. Like nothing like too serious or nothing. I'm really like don't I don't really have a whole lot to prove. So I'm like
Right, right.
kind of on top right now and like in the the actual pepper eating competitions and stuff like that. So um yeah, nothing too serious really.
Well, it's really hard to challenge somebody also that hold like if someone holds a world record and then or you'll what did you say 17?
Yeah.
So you have 17 world records, so it's really hard to like, I mean, you have nothing to prove. So the
Mhm.
people who are like trying to like, I guess, go up against you do,
Yeah.
you know. But I've been getting, and I don't know if it's because we've been introduced to you and like the hot world as a whole. I see on our feed just a lot of people eating those chips, the one chip challenge, the ones in the little pack.
Yeah.
um, so how many of those can you crush in one go?
So I have the like record for eating the most in one sitting. I ate 71.
Jeez.
So also like the time one to open, don't they aren't they all individually wrapped? So
Yeah, they're
did
all
you have to
individually wrapped. Yeah.
so
So I kind of had a little help. Like my wife, she's like my coach. So she was kind of opening the boxes and I think she was opening the boxes and handing me the chip, and then I had scissors cutting them. Because sometimes I hate like I don't know, I'm bad at opening packaging, so
Yeah.
I hate when you like try to rip that package and you hit it on an angle and then it's like not open and you're trying to fiddle with it and then you can't see because you've eaten so much spicy stuff. You know what I mean? So
Fumbling the chips around. Now, I've always wanted to get one of them. I see them on Amazon all the time. Is the flavor like good if you take out the heat, or do they just not taste very good?
they're not very good. I think the main thing with them is when you buy like a bag of chips, right? And some people complain about it, but there's like the air in it. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
what is it? It's like
It's like the
it's
cushion to keep them from like the settling, of the product, right?
yeah, like it's something in there like keeps them fresh, right? So when you have these packages and they're like really flat, like all of those chips, like no matter if you get them like right when the challenge comes out, they're all like stale.
Mm.
So it's
Oh, really?
yeah, so all the one chip challenges are stale. Like
Oh,
Pocky, like who makes the one chip challenge, they make other chips. Like you can get like bags of like, you know, like they have like a jalapeno pineapple one and stuff like that. And those
okay.
chips are all like really tasty. Like they're all really, really good. But the actual one chip challenges, they're all they're all stale and then they're all like, some of them are like it's like, what is it, like charcoal
Oh,
on it, like, so it doesn't really taste
hmm,
that good. There was the one year they made them blue, and I think those ones were maybe the best tasting ones, like,
okay.
they tried to do a thing where it was like, "Oh, you can tell that the chips are real because 'cause you'll have a blue tongue after," but then they only did it
Um,
1 year, so whenever I post a video and it's not the blue ones, they're like, "Oh, your tongue's not blue, those are fake." I'm just like, "Okay, it was, like, a different year of the challenge, so,
I see a lot of celebs doing it. I think it was like Shaq or someone.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
like, "Oh, I can totally handle this," and then he just like damn near died after he ate the one. So I don't know how you ate. What did you say? 71?
71 of them I did, yeah.
Jeez.
It's wild. Do
Um,
Well, I
God.
was gonna ask, does Pocky give you some? Is that the company?
Yeah.
Do they give you some sort of like sponsorship for that and just send you unlimited hot chips?
Not really. There was the one year I was doing the challenge and they sent me like they sent out a bunch of like influencers and stuff like a box of like 10 of them. I think it was like you're supposed to do it with like a bunch of buddies and stuff like that and it had like Pocky, what did they have, like towels, and they had
Okay,
headbands and they had like a medal for whoever did the best sort of thing. Like they sent out
that's
a pack like
cool.
that out to me once. So that was pretty cool. Um but yeah, other than that, like I don't think they really wanted to show like that like videos of people eating like, because I've done like 71, I did like 50 something one year and 20 something a couple times. I don't think they want to show people eating that many because then it makes it look like their product's
You can do it.
not as hot sort of thing. You know what I mean? They prefer the
Mm.
ones where somebody's taking a bite out of it and like flipping out. You know?
And I've been seeing a lot too, where it's like people will, so it's like if Eric and I ate one, and then we die halfway through eating number one, and then like I'll see people like accidentally like touch their eye, and
Yeah.
then they'll so now they're crying and they're like dying because they ate this chip, and then they'll accidentally touch their other eye, and it's like this whole like I feel like that's the content that they want,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
Sure.
the good stuff. But we've been getting a lot of those on our feed, a lot of the chip challenges.
Mike, help me out. Maybe you probably have the best. I don't know if you ever do anything like this, but say I eat one of those hot chips. What, and I got to drink something, or maybe tell me don't drink something, but what would be the best thing? What's the best course of action to cool my mouth down?
Like I guess most like the only thing that I think will like really help out in your mouth and stuff like that is like dairy, like milk or yogurt or whatever. Um I'm actually vegan, so I don't do any dairy or whatever, but that stuff will help. Yeah, like if it's, your first time going for a challenge like that, or, even if it's not, like I said, like don't do it on an empty stomach. Like I would suggest, people eat it. And then the other thing is just to like try to remain calm. Like it's kind of easier said than done, but I've seen videos where especially like I wouldn't recommend like really young kids do the challenges like that because they uh you know they they kind of react a little bit differently than an adult would. So, like they might like just like freak out, and a lot of people, I've seen ones where people are like going to the hospital and stuff like that. There's not really a whole lot the hospital can do for you if you're hurting. Like you just kind of have to just wait it out. Like the burning in your mouth is going to go away like in 20 minutes or like maybe half an hour at the worst. But
Probably better to go
it's gonna
to.
go away. Just wait it out.
Better to
Sorry.
go to Ben and Jerry's than it is to go to the hospital, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah. And yeah, just yeah, you kind of just have to just wait it out. Just try to, try to if your stomach's hurting, like try to drink a lot of fluids, try to eat more after even if you feel like kind of sick, like you don't want to be eating more, like it's yeah, just you should be fine the next day if it's if you're really hurting, so.
It's interesting too because I feel like with how I mean everyone, kids, everyone like they're all on social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. I feel like or at least when I was growing up, obviously like I had the internet, but I didn't have all these other apps. So like I would never as a child consider like crushing and doing like hot food challenges, like I'm pretty sure we were like snorting the powder from like sour
Oh, the pixie
Skittles, like that
sticks.
was the extent, and like pixie sticks. But like it's crazy now, like kids are doing these challenges that I wouldn't have even thought about, 20 years
I bet
ago
you would
or
have if you had the
maybe.
same, resources on the internet.
Oh yeah, well yeah, if I had the internet then maybe, but I
hmm
feel like, we didn't have that luxury, so we
hmm
didn't get to. But I'll tell you, I've never actually had a Carolina Reaper pepper before. Like I've had sauces made with them. Is it something that like you find to be a nice like accommodation with something? Like does it pair well with things, or do you strictly just eat them for the act of like challenges or in the form of a hot sauce? Like do you ever cut one up and put it on a sandwich with some arugula, or like is it like how is that, what does that look like?
Yeah, like I guess like honestly, I don't really eat a lot of just the fresh peppers like in food or stuff like that. Like I guess you know, uh I guess I used to a little bit a few years ago, but right now it's like when it's pepper season, I'm like kind of moving around a lot, traveling a lot, and I don't have like they're kind of harder to find, and I don't have time to like take care of like a garden right now and stuff like that, right? So when I could like I'd grow them and have some extra ones, or a lot of people would send them to me, and I'd kind of have them as a, yeah, like kind of in a salad or throw them on a sandwich or on a burger, cut them up, stuff like that. But I'm more using like the hot sauces and stuff like that. And I guess it kind of depends like on what you're making. I'm like, if I make something that's, kind of really flavorful on its own, I usually just go for a really hot sauce just to make it hot, just kind of like a pepper forward sauce on whatever. But if it just making something really plain like a beans and rice or something like that, then there are a lot more like flavorful craft sauces to use, stuff like that to give it a bit more flavor. So yeah, that's kind of how I go about it, I guess.
You know what I like to see? The guy that does all the barbecue food, and he wears that little that wrist band, and it has all the like 3 bottles of hot sauce on there, and he goes onto his wristband, and he unscrews the one, and he just kind of tilts his wrist upside down, and it dumps whatever hot sauce on there that he wants. It's like Batman, but instead of his utility
Oh,
belt, it's
wow.
his utility gauntlet with hot sauce.
Well,
Yeah.
and I feel like using hot sauces are just easier too. Like the prep work that goes into like if I'm cutting a pepper up, like that's just time that if I already have the hot sauce, then
Yeah.
I'm good to go. But so kind of moving away from well, I guess still talking about them, but you were a part of the Hulu show Superhot, correct?
I was, yeah.
And so that was that released this year, 2024?
Yeah, I
Or was
think
it yeah?
it came out in like January, or yeah, I think it was end of January, I think.
And so that show was narrated from Parks Ben Schwartz, right? Like he
Right,
did the
Sonic the Hedgehog.
yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog, right? Yeah. So can you tell us like what was that whole experience like?
Oh, it was yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was pretty neat. Yeah, like seeing what goes into putting a show together like that. It was pretty neat seeing it from behind the scenes. Um yeah, I kind of just got into it a little accidentally, I guess, cuz yeah, I went to they're filming at shoot, what's it called? The festival there in Texas. Zestfest, my wife is over there. Yeah. At Zestfest, yeah. So Zestfest in Texas. I was going there to compete for the America's Belt, League of Fire America's Belt. So I was, yeah, going to compete for that, and I ended up winning it. So they kind of wanted to show a bit more about me and filmed another challenge with me, stuff like that. So one kind of neat behind the scenes detail I'll let you guys know about is like in the show they they show us at our house, and we're talking, and my wife's like kind of put me through my training resume and stuff like that. But the house that we filmed it wasn't actually our house. They they didn't want, like, there's a lot involved with bringing the production to Canada to film at
Sure.
our place. Like, you have to get new crew, and people have to have or work visas, stuff like that, and all the, so they ended up just like paying for like a house there. And they're just like, okay, just pretend that this is your house, like you're, and they filmed a
So
lot
they
of stuff
legit
that,
put you up somewhere and just had you pretend.
yeah, like they put us up in a hotel, but then they wanted to film at like a nicer house. So I'm like, oh, this house is a lot nicer than our house. So whatever. Looks
That's
like
great.
looks like we're ballers here. So but yeah, there's a lot of stuff they didn't put in there. Like they had a whole thing. They're like, okay, like just make like you're making breakfast or whatever. So there's a whole thing where we're like cooking and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I know, yeah, I'm gonna grab the frying pan where I always keep it in this drawer. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's
and
totally here.
yeah, they're just like, one thing that they loved when we were like filming it, but they did put in, was they're like, okay, just be at the table and just have like a casual conversation, like just talk about whatever you'd normally talk about. So we're like I started talking about, I was like, "Oh, like what do you think's gonna happen in like the next episode of Blossom?" Because we were watching we're watching the show Blossom, like from like Disney Plus or whatever. So
Yeah.
I was just like, "Oh, like what's gonna happen to like Joey with like, all this stuff and whatever." And they were like, "Blossom, that's so funny. You guys are watching that?" So we like the 90s throwback stuff. So
How long of a like how long did the filming last for that?
Like I don't know their whole
Yeah,
schedule because they were traveling around and stuff like
sure.
that. But like the thing with me, like they were, they filmed at Zest Fest there, and it was kind of just casual. I was just going about my thing, and they were just filming the competition sort of thing. They were like, they had like I don't know, did they really? I think they showed it in the show a little bit, but they had like a party where all the contestants got together like before the night
Okay.
before. So they filmed that, and they're trying to cause drama and stuff. Sorry, hold on just a sec.
Yeah. I feel like though that's good TV, right? And if you can get that drama
Dude, that
aspect in
sound
Yeah.
there too. Oh yeah. That's
I'm
yeah.
just kind of like, I don't know. I just have just my personality. I don't want to get into too much like drama with people and stuff like that. Like I just kind of think it just, you know, I'm kind of more of a positive person. But there was like, there's the one like so I'd won the America's belt before, but when they had like the next one, I had to give the belt up because I went on a trip to Italy. So somebody else won, and so they were like the belt holder, and I was coming in like trying to get the belt back. So they're trying to cause like a lot of drama. So they're like, okay, like they kind of put us together, and they're like, all right, Mike, like tell Jason like how you feel about him like taking your belt and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
for
And I'm
what
just
for?
like, and I'm just like, oh, I'm just like, oh, Jason, like, congratulations for winning the belt. Like, I don't have anything like against you or whatever. Like, I wasn't there. You won it fair and square. So, I'm going to try to get it back. And like, if I don't, then, whatever. So, they're just like, oh, I don't think they really like that too much. So, but, yeah, so they filmed that the night before, but it was just kind of like a thing I was gonna go to anyway. And then the next day at the competition, it was just I was gonna go there anyway. I just went about my thing and whatever. They kind of like um at the party they were asking people who they thought the favorites were, and a lot of people said me, so they knew to like put a bunch of
Mm,
cameras on me and stuff like that. So, but and then it was like I don't know, it was like a couple months later then we went to I think in Carolina where they'd had I think it was the Johnny Scoville rodeo they called it
mm,
in the thing. So that's where I drank like all those hot sauces. And it was the day before they did like the interview and stuff with me and the whole thing at the house. And I was sitting on a couch, they're asking me questions, and the like bathtub scene that people were loving there. So yeah, like when they said they were gonna do an interview with me, there I was just like, oh yeah, whatever. I've done interviews before, like the one we're doing here. I'm like, it'll be like whatever,
yeah.
an hour or two, whatever. But it was like a full day, like it was like 10 hours of like
Oh,
of like
wow.
filming. And I was like, what? This is like it was actually like tiring. Like you gotta be on, like you gotta be, you're on camera, you gotta be on for
yeah.
like 10 hours. I was like, this is actual work right now, you know what I
And the
mean?
magic of Hollywood turns that 10 hours into 15 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they cut it right down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, have you done so was that your first like television, I guess you could call it that, like your first special that you've done? Or um I I think I read, did you used to have like a TV show
Yeah.
that you were a part of?
Yeah. I guess like the first kind of pepper thing that I did was there's like the Netflix series a few years ago called We Are the Champions,
Okay.
and they had different episodes about different kind of crazy competitions, and the one of them that they did was about pepper eating. So I was on there. I wasn't like I guess I wasn't like featured on there. It was pretty early in my pepper eating career, but I was in the show and did the competition stuff like that. It was actually the very first pepper eating competition I did, and it was like this international competition. People from the UK, Australia, and the US, and me, the one Canadian. So
Mhm.
so I did that. I did that show, and then yeah, I had my own show on local TV when I lived in London, Ontario. Rogers TV London. It's called Jack Up the Heat. So the basis of the show is I would go to a restaurant and kind of challenge them to make the world's hottest whatever their specialty is. So and then I would eat it at the end, and I'd have like a special guest who would also try the food just to show like how hot it is. So it's like they're like dying, and I'm just like pounding it, sort of thing. But it's yeah, so we did lots of crazy things. We did like, hottest pizza, hottest taco, stuff like that. But then we also did like world's hottest donuts was probably the craziest one. We did hottest ice cream. So yeah, it was super fun fun show to do. I've also, I went to I guess it was last year I went to Italy and I did the Italian Guinness World Records TV show. So I guess it's like a huge thing in Italy. So yeah, it was kind of neat, like going and attempting a Guinness record on TV there. And yeah, I did some filming earlier this year for a show that's going to be on it's going to be on VIX, which is like a Spanish language like streaming service. Um, yeah, so there's going to be a show coming out pretty soon, or maybe early next year, I think. I'm not really too sure when it comes out, but yeah, I did some filming for that too.
Do you enjoy, like, can you see yourself doing more of the kind of televised? I know some people are like, they just happen to find themselves in these situations, but are you like, do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah.
I enjoy yeah, being on the TV shows and stuff like that. Yeah, I went when I went to college, I went to like film school, so I'm used to, I did a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and it's kind of neat being like, in front of the camera. Like when I started doing YouTube and stuff, it was kind of weird at first, like doing videos, but after a while, I don't know. I guess you just get used to it, right? So.
Mhm. I think so. What do you think about if we're talking about hot sauce TV shows? What do you think about Hot Ones? The
Hmm.
interview, what Sean Evans is the host of that. Have you ever like checked out the hot sauces that they're putting on these things and said, "Yeah, I got that." I mean, obviously, I think that you'd be all right, but what do you think about that show?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, Hot Ones is awesome. It's doing a lot of good stuff for the spicy community. I think most people, actually watch it for the celebrities and the hot sauce, but kind of my favorite episodes almost are like the ones they have at the very beginning of the season where they're introducing the new sauces that they have on the show and stuff like that. And usually yeah, I usually try to get like some of the hotter ones, for, a lot of the milder ones, taste great too, but, I need something a little bit hotter, so usually, like, maybe around, like, sauce, like, 7 to 10, I usually, like, try to make sure I get that sauce and try it out and everything, so I know a lot of people who have had their hot sauces on the show and stuff like that too, so it's really great for the sauce makers and kinda gives them, like, a big boost, and they can, you know, when they have little booths and stuff at the markets, they can put a little sign up that's like a scene on Hot Ones and
Mm.
stuff like that. So and yeah, like they all get like a huge order off the bat from like Heatonist and everything. So it's really, it's good for those craft hot sauce makers, trying to, especially the ones that are kind of just starting out or trying to get into the out into the world a bit more. So yeah,
I
Sean Evans is great too. Like he asks like amazing questions, right? Like all the celebrities like love it, right? So, yeah, it's a great show. I'd love to do something with them one day, but yeah, not. I don't know if I'm quite on the radar yet, but we'll see how it
Mhm.
goes.
I feel like too, like if I'm to touch on your point, like so Sean Evans and what is the other one? Chicken Shop Date. I know they're not like she doesn't do like hot sauces, but I always see like the two of their videos pop up and they both ask such great questions, and I feel like that's what draws a lot of people in to touch on your point. Like I do feel like people, and yeah, the celebrities are, that's fun too because he can literally get and she can get whoever they want whenever they want. I mean, you're talking S tier celebs. But the questions are just so good. And so do you think that like they write their own questions or they got a team pumping out? Like, do you think that they
They
are just good conversationalists or like there's a team like, hey, ask this. This is good stuff.
they definitely have a team for
Yeah.
sure. There's people doing the research there. Like the hosts kind of get the credit, but there's a team for sure. that's getting that done for them. Yeah.
It's just like any talk show. The talk
Hmm.
shows aren't anything if they don't have their writers in the writing room writing, give or take about what the jokes are going to be. But I feel like it's
Yeah.
execution. The hosts do a good job executing that stuff and maybe running on the fly. Because anytime you're talking to somebody, they could be a really great interview or a really bad interview, and you've got to kind of adapt and run with that.
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's like the late night hosts and stuff, right? Like they've got a writing team. Like they're not coming up with all those
On the fly, yeah,
all
right,
that
right.
great stuff like themselves, right? Like they're very talented, obviously, but
Hmm.
yeah, there's a whole team helping them out for sure.
Those shows are surprisingly scripted, I believe. I've heard.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
everything. But Mike, what do you do outside of like what kind of like what are some hobbies of yours when you're not, crushing challenges and getting world records and, you know, wiping the floor with everyone in the competitive eating world?
Yeah, I guess I got a few other hobbies. As a Canadian, I'm an avid hockey fan. I'm a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I've been
Okay,
following them since I was like 10, I guess. So, yeah, it's kind of yeah, something I do. Watch most of the games. Watch them fold in the playoffs. And but yeah, I'm pretty into that. I'm I like retro gaming. I'm not really into like the newer games and stuff like that. I kind of have my kind of niche or whatever that I'm into. Like a lot of Super Nintendo
sure.
stuff like that. I like NHL '94. I
Okay.
play I play quite a bit. That's one of my faves. Yeah, and just old school games like that. Getting into a lot of Legend of Zelda stuff that I didn't
Sure.
play as a kid, or like some of it that I did. It's all
I'll tell
coming
you what,
back.
I just went to a concert maybe a month ago, and it was this band named Bit Brigade, and they play like the soundtracks from these video games. I believe the show that I went to, it was here in Delaware where we're at. They said this is the last time we're playing Zelda. The thing that makes them or that makes this so different is that they bring up on stage this guy and he's got an NES controller in his hands and they go, "Here, this is," and I forget what his name was. Here's Sean, and Sean is the fifth member of the band, and here's his instrument, and he speed runs the games while they play like the soundtrack to the
Yeah,
game. So they'll
that's
like get to
awesome.
the end. He'll like get to one of the pieces of the Triforce or whatever, and they'll go doo, 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 or the whole band does, and then he goes out of the world and they start playing another song. Um,
That's actually
so
genius. Like
it
that's such a good idea.
it was really good. Those guys, they rocked. There is a whole subgenre of music for like 8-bit sort
Oh
of
yeah.
sounding like gaming. Yeah, they're not my first ones that I've seen that are similar to that for some odd reason. Um, and you mentioned like old school type games. There's this new game that just came out a couple weeks ago. UFO 50. It just came out a couple weeks ago, and it's supposed to be. I think it's 50 old school style, like 16-bit video games that you can play all through, and they apparently all tie into each other somehow. But the developer Mossmouth is one of my favorites, so I wanted to give that a shout out. See if recommend you play it if that's the type of games that you like.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Do you
Yeah,
know?
I like yeah, I like kind of the older style games and stuff like that. But yeah, there's just so many I don't have a whole lot of time to play like all the games that I want to play, you know what I mean? But there's just like so much stuff that because I wasn't into video games for like a while, and there's so much stuff that I can kind of go back to now. Like I'm learning that like Game Boy Advance had like so many cool like games that I like never played. So there's some like Metroid games and Castlevania games that are like
Oh
so
yeah.
awesome that I can kind of just like go to like this kind of back catalog that I haven't like played these games, and yeah, and play them through, and yeah, I have a lot of fun with games that are 20 years old and stuff like that. So
Do you notice, like, at least I do, like, if I go back and I try to play some of the retro games, like, I was either really like, I'm either super shitty now or when I was a kid, like I don't know, it's much more difficult now. Maybe as I've gotten older, like my eyes start to suck more and my coordination isn't as good, but it's definitely more challenging now, I feel like, than it was when I was a child. I don't know if that's true for everyone else or if anyone else feels that way, but like I definitely used to be better.
I think so, yeah. I think, like, as a kid, like, maybe you have more time and you have, like, maybe more
I think
patience.
time's
Like,
it. Yes.
you could just, like, I remember, like, a lot of people are like, "Oh, like, one of the hardest games to play is, like, the like, original, like, Ninja Turtles game," right?
Mm.
The dam level and the stuff like that, and I'm like, as a kid, I could do the dam level, like, pretty easy, I thought. Um, but, like, trying it now, I'm just like, I can, like, not even get past, like, the first few, little obstacles. I'm just like, "Whoa, this game is actually, like, super hard."
Well, I'll tell you what, Greg, if what you're saying is true, it's not true yet. My son is 9 and he is an avid Fortnite player. He still is not as good as we are at playing Fortnite. We'll play sometimes with him on there too, and I think we still got him beat.
But I think too, to like to tie to your point, like we play that game pretty consistently. Like when we play a game, I feel like that's what we're playing. So it goes back to practice makes perfect. I know like a good I love the angry video game nerd. And I love
Right.
it because like it touches on all those old games we used to play and how frustrating they were. But as a kid, like too, you would buy a game and there was no you didn't really have the internet to tell you if the game was good or not. Like you just paid your money and it was either good or it wasn't. Or you had Blockbuster, but like my parents never let me rent video games from Blockbuster because there was like a 2-day rental and they were more expensive than the VHS tapes. So like I was never allowed to really rent video games. So you would buy it and you either liked it or you didn't. And if not, you were just kind of SOL. But it's just something I've noticed as I've gotten older, like, it's just more challenging to really, like, be good at a game without, like, having to have a, like, life and be responsible adults, really puts a hindrance on a lot of things, I would say. But Mike, what would you say, like, moving forward, like, what do you kind of wanna accomplish for yourself? Like, what are some goals that you have?
Yeah, like a few goals that I have. Like I always want to try to get better, want to get faster, break more records and stuff like that for eating. I'm the world champ of pepper eating, and I'm like, where can I go from there? And I've won three. I'm going to be competing for my fourth one like next weekend. There's people who. Some people have been like, "Oh man, like you've won so many, like you're like the Joey Chestnut of like hot pepper eating," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not, pretty, Joey Chestnut's won like 16 hot dog eating competitions, so I'd really like to get like a big number of wins, like maybe, if I could get 16 like pepper eating championships, like that would be amazing. So that's another goal of mine to just keep going and keep winning as many as I can.
Gotta be the undisputed, right?
Yeah, right,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
goat,
Yeah.
the goat pepper eater. Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you for joining us. Taking the time to sit down and talk to us. I know when we had our first interview with you, it was a little it was very hectic. So it's been nice to actually get to chat with you uninterrupted for a little while. But Mike Jack, 17 Guinness World Record holder
Yeah.
of eating, and it's crazy, man. That's just it blows my mind still. And
Yeah.
but
Thank,
thank
thank,
you, man.
thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.